really didn't like that one. So that's kind of what's happening. Congress today, politics today, is dominated by people who, first of all, have little experience in the art of compromise. And again, I will tell you that most people in Congress, well, not most, that's not true, too many of them have never served in public office before. And too many of them think that government is always the problem and therefore do nothing. Look what we're about to do in the debt ceiling. You think I like raising the debt ceiling? I think it's crazy. I think we borrow too much money. I'm a social liberal. I'm a progressive by any measure of the term. But I'm a fiscal conservative because I think we should pay our bills. I do believe in senior housing. I do believe in all the social programs, but I think we should pay for them. And that means I should come to you and say, we need to pay more taxes, which means everybody, by the way, not just the wealthy. And if you, the public, say I don't want to pay more taxes, my answer is okay, fine. You can't have all the programs. We have to cut back on certain things. And so that makes me a fiscal conservative. At least I think it does. At the same time, I advocate for those programs, but I don't get everything I want. I will tell you that the fights in Washington are a reflection of the American people. Stop and think about it. Most people in public office, I think, have to have some appreciation and some desire to like and learn history. Think of the history of this country. In the history of this country, there have only been a few periods in time where the country has made serious governmental and social progress. I mean, not necessarily building the railroads, that's a different story, that's scientific progress. But the social progress, especially for those of us, I just turned 61. For those of us in my generation, maybe a little older, it really didn't start until, depending on when you want to measure it, might have started in the 30s, but it didn't get really going until the 50s. And from the 50s to give or take the 80s, stop and think about what we did. And Social Security was before that, but it really got hot. Medicare, all the social programs we think of, senior housing, homeless programs, feeding children in school, the whole concept of government supporting, truly supporting public education, building the interstate highway system on the backs of us, the taxpayers. Not borrowing the money, but paying for it through gas tax. All those things happened in a matter of about 40 years, give or take. And now we take it for granted that they were always there. That Social Security was always there, always be there. No, it wasn't. Now, I don't think anybody in this room was here before Social Security, but there should be some people in this room who remember what life was like for some of our seniors before Social Security. But there are a lot of people in this room that should remember the fights over Medicare. We take it for granted, oh, they're never going to. Medicare was called a socialist program for 30 years. And they only stopped because every time they did, Democrats won elections. Because people like Medicare, the concept of Medicare, with all of its problems. So what do? They stopped calling it a socialist program. Oh, no, we love Medicare. Let's add more programs. We don't have to pay for them because they should be free. Let's keep adding programs. What's the result of that? The same result would be in your house if you kept spending money. Eventually you hit a wall and you go broke. And the very thing that you spent the money on is no longer affordable and gone. They're going to bankrupt Medicare. They're going to bankrupt Social Security. And that's just part of it. That doesn't count all the other programs. Right now, we're about to cut a program, the WIC program. I don't know if many of you know. The WIC program is Women, Infants, Children. It literally puts food into the mouths of infants, not even babies, infants. Now, we come from the wealthiest country in the history of the world, and we're going to let infants go malnourished? I don't care what their parents do or don't do. I don't care if they're the worst drug addicts, worst scum of the earth in the world. A 6-month-old baby didn't have any choice. This country, taking food out of their mouths, to me, that's a sin. On the worst level. And yet we're about to do that. And that's just one. Go on and on and on. Until America, as a country, stands up and says, we want to go in this direction, which they did for that 40 years. Even Republicans, by the way, went in that direction. The interstate highway system was built under Dwight D. Eisenhower. Community development block grants and the community and the social programs that come out of that and related to it, the social grants, was done by Richard Nixon. So it wasn't just one party versus the other. It was America saying, we think government should be active. We think seniors should be housed. We think seniors should not have to choose between heat and food. We think educating the next generation is important. And on and on and on. And then all of a sudden, give or take the 80s, the 90s, well, Reagan epitomized it, but he didn't change it as much as people think. Government's the problem. What problem? The government's not perfect. Government can't nor should try to do everything. What problem do we create? Do we house too many seniors? Do we have more